So first of all, thank you all for giving up your precious time to join us for today's presentation. We have record numbers attending, so hopefully this is going to be worthwhile for you all today. For those who don't know me, my name is Derek Phillips. I'm the Managing Director of Clarus Networks, and as I'm sure you can probably tell, I'm absolutely ecstatic to finally bring to you the groundbreaking Starlink Mini for Enterprise. We've been waiting for quite a while to introduce this one to you. As one of Starlink's earliest adopters and one of their globally authorised Tier 1 resellers, we've been pushing SpaceX hard for some time for access to this product for our customers. And now that it's here, our customers are getting particularly excited about it, and I hope you are all too. We've recently been running some road tests with the Starlink Mini with exceptional results, and I'll come on to those later, but yet again, SpaceX have made highly complex, mind-blowing technology look so simple and made it accessible to everyone. I'm joined today by my colleague Andrew Orr from our senior business development team. Andy has been with us for a number of years and throughout our entire partnership with Starlink and SpaceX. So you're in very good hands today, and I know Andy, like me, will be extremely excited to showcase this technology to you and everything that goes with it. So I'm going to hand you over to Andy. He's going to run through the agenda for today's webinar, and then he'll pass back to myself, and I'll talk a little bit more about Clarus Networks. Over to you, Andy.
Thanks, Derek. So yeah, just to run quickly through what we're going to actually talk about today. So we're going to give you a quick overview of Clarus and who we are as a company. We're then going to look at what Starlink actually is and look at the architecture of the service. We're then going to kind of dive into the main event and give an overview of the Mini. We'll then look at the Mini compared to the other terminals that Starlink offer today. We'll look at some of the use cases and applications for the Mini. We'll then just talk a little bit around the managed service that Clarus provide with this. We'll look at the service management portal, and then we're going to dive into a demonstration of our control center. And then at the end, you'll have a chance to kind of do a Q&A, and we'll hopefully answer all the questions that you guys have for us.
Yeah, so but back over to myself. So just a little bit about Clarus Networks. I know there's many people on the call who know us already and are already working with us today. But if you don't know a lot about us, we are a privately owned business. We recently turned 10 years old, and the business is owned and run by my wife and I, which we set up 10 years ago, but now also run with our senior leadership team, which is made up of some of the most respected and knowledgeable people within the telecoms sector. Clarus has been a Starlink reseller on the program for over 2 years now, and we were one of the first 8 companies globally with access to the service. For us, Starlink has completely transformed our business in the past 2 years. We've gone from mainly supplying our kind of legacy technologies within the UK to now having deployed over 3,000 Starlink services in over 40 different countries, both on fixed sites, at sea, and for land mobility use cases such as rail. But that is for another day. So I'm going to pass you back to Andy now to talk a little bit more about the range of solutions and services that are on offer from our business, the types of customers and the industries that we deploy across, before diving into the Starlink network. And of course, the star of the show, the all-new Starlink Mini for Enterprise. Over to you, Andy.
Okay, so just a kind of quick overview of the solutions that Starlink, that Clarus offer. So of course, we offer LEO satellite broadband. As Derek mentioned, we're a globally authorized Tier 1 reseller of Starlink, but we're also a OneWeb distribution partner. We're heavily involved in the deployment of private LTE and private 5G networks. We also still deploy public 4G and 5G internet, and that's really what the business was born out of 10 years ago. We offer mobile coverage solutions, which is license exempt, active, passive, and hybrid DAS. We have our Nexus SD-WAN solution, and we also have kinetic mesh networks, which are designed to provide Wi-Fi over vast areas of land or indoors. So just some of the sectors that we focus on and we service. So the business was really born out of providing 4G and 5G services to the construction sector, a sector that we still very much focus on to this day. We're just using different technology to deliver that service now. We've got a dedicated energy and maritime team based out of Norwich, which looks after oil and gas, utilities and vessel connectivity. And just some of the other sectors that we operate in are things like retail and logistics, emergency services, healthcare, mining and broadcast media. So just to kind of look at a kind of basic level what Starlink actually is. So it's the world's first and largest constellation of satellites using low Earth orbit. So currently in the network, there are over 7,000 satellites in low Earth orbit, and Starlink have plans to launch up to 42,000 satellites. There is global coverage on the network, and Starlink are currently live and operating in over 100 different countries. And there's plans to go live with more countries this year as well. That the only thing that's really holding that up at this point in time is regulatory approvals. The thing that makes Starlink different to traditional networks is it operates at 550 kilometres from Earth's orbit. They also have an extensive global ground network where the service breaks out to the public internet, and that's what results in that low latency, often down to as low as 20 milliseconds. And if we compare that to traditional geo services, you'd be looking at 600 milliseconds plus of latency. So it's really groundbreaking from that point of view. But not only does it provide low latency, it also boasts some pretty impressive speeds as well. So on the Starlink network, you'll get anything up to 350 meg of download, anything up to 40 meg of upload, and there's also plans to provide gigabit capabilities in the future. So Starlink also they've got a range of terminals to support both fixed land and mobility use cases, both onshore and offshore. And more recently, they can now provide enhanced network features, which include Layer 2 and Layer 3 interconnect services, which allow you to provide quality of service. And they've got a whole host of service plans ranging from small data usage plans of 10 gig of data right up to 10 petabyte data pools. And there's also going to be some new plans coming in April, which is going to change things quite drastically, and we'll touch on that shortly. So just to focus a little bit on the Starlink architecture and how the service actually works. So if we start on the right-hand side here, you'll see the customer site where the user terminal is based, and that might be a land location, might be a ship, it might be a vehicle. The terminal then connects into the constellation via the Ku band. So the Generation 2 satellites, which is the current version, are all connected via 100 gig inter-satellite laser links, which allows that low latency. The satellites then connect to the Starlink gateway sites or the ground stations via the Ka band. And these ground stations, they're connected via a private global fiber network to the Starlink POPs. And these are located at strategic locations across the globe. And they're continuing to build out these gateway sites as they expand the network. So at the end of the architecture here, the service can either break out to the public internet, or as I was mentioning earlier, you can have Layer 2 or a Layer 3 interconnect with Starlink for enhanced network control. And this allows you to provide quality of service and a whole host of additional network features. And it can even allow you to keep the traffic off the public internet if that's something that you need. So for example, here in the UK, Starlink's data centre is located at Telehouse West in London, and that's where you would interconnect directly with Starlink, and that's where the service would also break out to the internet if you decide to go down that route. So we don't just provide terminals and data plans. We also provide a managed service wrap with Starlink, and that's to ensure that you're receiving an effective enterprise grade solution, essentially. So we have direct API integration with Starlink, and this allows us to activate plans quickly and provide a managed service wrap. We have global service coverage. So initially, when Clarus became an authorized reseller, we had access to 6 different countries. We can now provide Starlink to any location globally, as long as it's regulated for use. We have our customer management portal, which we'll give you a demonstration of shortly, which is developed in-house by our own development team. We've got a range of service plans available. And as mentioned, there's going to be some changes to these service plans in April, which is going to mean that you're always on prioritized business data, which is a great thing, but it requires careful management from a data usage point of view, which is where our portal comes into its own. We've got an in-house 24/7 NOC, which supports our customers globally, 24/7, 365 days of the year. We give you the ability to interconnect directly with Starlink and provide different levels of quality of service. And from April, in line with the changes that are coming to the data plans, we'll be able to provide a SLA around uptime of above 99.9%, which is great news because Starlink's always been a best effort service, and it's maybe one of the criticisms of the service, but they're kind of backing this up now with this SLA. We give our customers ability to pool data across multiple sites, and they can aggregate data or create data pools and sub pools for individual customers. We also do multi-channel bonding, so we can bond multiple Starlinks together. We can bond Starlink with a 4G or a 5G service, and we can also bond Starlink with fiber to provide extra resilience. And we also do a whole host of technology integrations while using Starlink as the backhaul to things like private 5G, enterprise Wi-Fi, and SD-WAN. And we also have a network of global installers that we can install pretty much anywhere across the world, whether that be on land or at sea. I'm going to pass back over to Derek now just to give you a run through of the various terminals that Starlink offer, and then we're then going to dive deep into the Mini, which is what it's all about today.
Fantastic, thanks for that, Andy. That was a good overview. So many of you will be familiar with the terminals that you can see in front of you. There are other variations, but some of them have been discontinued now. So what we can see here in front of us is the terminals that Clarus offer to our global customers for a variety of use cases. The only terminal that we don't have here is the new rail tile, which Clarus Networks have worked over the past couple of years with Starlink engineers to have certified for trains. I'm going to start in the middle, first of all, actually, because it's one of the slightly older units, but we would still supply it today. That's the flat high performance unit. We commonly deploy this for, or we have traditionally commonly deployed it for maritime applications on ships, oil rigs, but we now deploy this on fixed land sites too, as the previous actuated version has been discontinued, but we actively deploy a large volume of these into the field today. I want to jump on to the left-hand side. The left-hand terminal you can see is the new V4 Enterprise terminal, which is similar to the V4 Consumer terminal, but it has the basic router removed and in place of a PSU with an Ethernet port. So that's for integration then into a customer's network environment. So designed better for business. It has a slightly lesser field of view of 110 degrees than the flat high performance unit has. But to be honest, that doesn't really matter now. We see when we have it deployed in the field, due to the sheer density of satellites in the constellation, it just performs exceptionally well. We deploy this unit on many fixed sites, like for our construction customers and others, but we have also developed a custom vehicle mount for this unit as well, and we have it deployed on roadside assistance vehicles for emergency services, mountain rescue, and so on. And now finally, on the right-hand side, the Starlink Mini, which is what everyone's joined us today to talk about, so we're going to dig into that a little bit more on the next slide. So having a look at some of the key features here, one of the biggest one is the size. The compact design of this tiny little dish. It's just approximately 30 centimetres by 26 centimetres roughly. It's so light and compact. The dish alone weighs, it comes in at just under 2.5 pounds. So there's really nothing to it at all. With its small size comes low power requirements. We see the dish booting up at around 35 watts on startup, but it tends to then settle at around 25 watts or less in use. So really, really low usage. This is way lower than some of the other terminals that we have that come in at a much higher power consumption. So it makes it really efficient and capable of being powered via pocket-sized batteries for hours on end. And it can be both powered via DC and AC power. So really, really flexible for a range of different applications. This little dish, it's IP67 rated for harsh environments, and it has a 110-degree field of view like the V4 Enterprise dish has as well. All of this means that it can be connected and you can be online in the field in just minutes, experiencing download speeds of 100 megabits or more, often higher. Some, upload, we see kind of 15, 20 meg on the upload. It varies slightly. It really is mind-blowing for something that looks so simple and is so easy to use. And we see it becoming really a critical option for workers out in the field. So performance, reliability, versatility, all packaged up in one. Just drop onto the next slide, Andy, please. Yeah. So we have a range of different accessories. There's a whole range of off-the-shelf accessories that are on offer for varied installation needs. One very interesting one is that the mini car adapter, which you can see there on the bottom, meaning that the dish can be powered via a car's auxiliary power, better known as the lighter socket, and you can connect it on the go. Makes the dish highly mobile and adaptable. But that's the off-the-shelf accessories. I'm going to show you a little bit more about what our product team have created on the next slide as well. What we've got in front of us here is a Clarus ruggedized travel case, and this some of the standard products that you can see that are off the shelf will work, but our product team develops custom accessories such as this. And looking at the pack in front of you, what you'll see is space for the mini dish. But you will also see that it contains dual battery packs and features for field professionals. So this can be used out in the field. We've been testing it. You can get online and stay online for many, many hours. So using one of the battery packs, swap it over and start charge that one and start to use the other pack as well. And really, really fantastic for being used out on the move, making it highly durable, easy to transport, and rapidly deployable. We are seeing the kind of orders for this starting to go through the roof already. So a lot of interest, and we'll talk about some of those use cases in a second, or Andy will in a moment. And on the next slide, we have got the Clarus Mini vehicle mount. We recognise that there are some vehicle mounts available online if you run a quick Google, but we kind of recognise that what you find online, they're more suited to consumer grade applications. So we've redesigned it and we've made our own, which is a much more ruggedized and is better made. It's our unit is made using a high performance homopolymer used for high load mechanical parts, so it's very hard wearing and designed to last in the field, particularly for those critical kind of use cases and industries that we serve today. The unit can be mounted in a couple of ways. It can be mounted via magnetic feet on the vehicle via suction cups, or it can be permanently drilled into and mounted on the vehicle. And if any of you follow us on LinkedIn, you might have seen some of our road tests recently. Our CTO, David Turner, was recently carrying out some tests, and they had the vehicle mount attached to the top of his vehicle, driving to a site between Cambridge and Hull for about 150 miles. The average performance over that was, over 100 megabits per second. We were seeing sometimes higher than that. Average availability was greater than 99% for the entire journey. Latency-wise, the average latency was about 43 milliseconds, but at points it was anywhere as low as 16 milliseconds. And again, back to that power part of it, 21 watts average power draw over the entire journey. So really, fantastic, and a lot lower than the other terminals that are available today. So yeah, for applications like disaster response and field services, this really is going to be a game changer for some of those. Next one, Andy. Yeah, so I'll let you cover again. I know this kind of covers off some of the features I've spoken about. If we cover that off briefly, and then on to the use cases after that, over to you.
Sure. So just to kind of reiterate some of the benefits that Derek mentioned there. So it's portable and rapidly deployable. It's ruggedized with its IP67 rating. It also brings reliable performance. For use cases like real-time data transmission, which we'll touch on in a second, it's ideal. Key thing about this is the low power requirements. So like Derek was mentioning, it consumes just 25 to 40 watts per hour and can be charged off a cigarette type lighter from a vehicle. 24/7 NOC support. We support the Mini 24/7, 365 days of the year, and also global coverage on the network, so you can connect your Mini device regardless of location. So just to dive into some of the use cases that we've seen already for the Mini device. So a kind of obvious use case is lone workers and field technicians. This is allowing them to maintain communication and access critical data while working in isolated locations. And quite importantly as well, it ensures health and safety, but also efficiency. We have construction and infrastructure, providing real-time data access and project management tools for site managers, surveyors, and engineers. We have energy and utilities, so supporting surveyors, commissioning engineers, field technicians, and anyone else working in remote wind farms. We have broadcast media, which is a real growing use case for us just now. And obviously the use case here is Starlink delivers fast, stable, and portable internet connectivity, which enables seamless live broadcasting from remote or challenging locations, where traditional networks like 4G, 5G, and Geo maybe fall short. We have emergency services and disaster relief. So giving these guys the ability to deploy a rapid communications network in disaster-struck or remote areas, enabling them to provide a coordinated rescue and recovery effort. We have environmental monitoring and research. So having the ability to transmit data from field operations such as earth testing, archaeology, environmental studies, regardless of how remote the site may be. We have humanitarian and health services, so enabling mobile clinics to maintain reliable connectivity for things like remote patient care and coordination, ensuring healthcare teams can operate effectively in underserved or high-to-reach areas. And then finally, we've got wildlife conservation and monitoring, so enabling conservationists to monitor wildlife and ecosystems in remote areas with ease, providing access to real-time data and reliable connectivity when they're out working in the field. So I'm just going to touch now on some of the additional services that we provide with a Starlink managed service. So one of these is our service management center. So any of our customers can sign up to this via our website. And it gives you the ability to do things like request service changes, so upgrading data plans, activating new data plans, and even ordering equipment within here. You can log technical support tickets with our 24/7 NOC team for quick issue resolution. It also doubles up as a knowledge base. So within here, we have all of our data sheets, accessory guides, troubleshooting guides, and a whole host of other information. But you also have the ability to use the live chat function within here, where you can speak live with our engineers if you have any quick questions or you need some quick assistance. So I'm now just going to jump into a quick demonstration of our control center.
Andy, will you maybe set that up? And there's a couple of questions
Yeah.
been dropped into the Q&A section, so I'm going to pick those up as well, and we'll obviously pick up the Q&A section as we go along. So I'll let you get that set back up again. But there's I think one of the first questions that was dropped into that there was regarding Starlink's plans to unlock the capacity issues in the southeast of the UK from Russell Williams. So thanks for that. And to be honest with you, I thought it was probably going to be one of the first questions that was asked today. But yeah, look, Starlink has been extremely successful to date. Too successful, probably, that the network is oversubscribed in some regions. There are upcoming changes which we were going to talk about, and I'm sure Andy is going to come on to with regards to the service plans for enterprise users, first of all. So there's a couple of parts to that answer. Today, what we see is we do have enterprise customers who are utilising, maybe the 40 gig or 1 terabyte business plans. But as you know, today, those users can then they can kind of have all you can eat data after their priority data allowance is exhausted, and they can use as much as they want to. So, to be honest with you, it has probably been abused a little bit. Starlink have made a rod for their own back by making that accessible. We have customers who are on 1 terabyte plans who use 15 terabytes of service every month, and that's been fine until this point. But it is having a negative impact on other users, and changes ultimately need to be made. So over the next couple of months, the service plans will change. Again, this will make the portal that Andy's demonstrating to you even more critical for use for customers to be able to monitor their allowances. All enterprise and business service plans will only have prioritized data, so customers will be in a position where they need to purchase additional data should they exhaust their 1 to 5 terabyte allowance or whatever it's going to be. But the great thing is with those service plans is that they are highly flexible. There's a lot of new options that are coming as well, allowing you to really maximize your usage and the performance of your service. But in line with that, it will stop some of those people who are overusing the service as well, which is having an impact on other users. So that's probably one part of it that we think will make a difference. Second part of it, critical to SpaceX plans, is that they successfully want to start launching Starlink via Starship. So someone may have seen that there was a recent mishap with the last Starship launch, but every one of these launches is a learning opportunity for them to improve the next one. So Starship will play a crucial role in the deployment of the upcoming Starlink Gen 3 satellites, which will significantly enhance the network's capacity and efficiency in several key ways. So those satellites, when they start launching via Starship, will massively increase their payload capacity, so allowing multiple full-size Gen 3 satellites to be launched in a single mission. Unlike Falcon 9, which is limited in payload volume, Starship will be able to launch dozens of Gen 3 satellites per flight. The upcoming Gen 3 satellites, they're going to increase network capacity significantly. Each Gen 3 satellite is designed to deliver up to 1 terabit per second of downlink bandwidth and 160 gigabits per second of uplink capacity into the network. This is a substantial increase over the current V2 mini satellites, which offer about 96 gigabit down and about 7 gigabits of uplink capacity. So a huge amount of capacity will be brought into the network. The question you've asked is one that we brought up with SpaceX multiple times. We spoke to them again a couple of days ago, and again they expect to start launching these satellites later in the year. Issues like this for other satellite companies would take many years to resolve, but they're expecting to have this resolved later in the year. It will create more capacity, and then it will start to unlock service activation again in some of those regions. You okay, Andy, to keep going on the portal?
Yeah, absolutely. So here we can see all of the Starlink devices that we're currently managing. What I've done, I've selected a site at random here, and it's provided me initially with some average telemetry on the right hand side here, so I can view it at a quick glance. But if I want to dive a bit deeper into this site, I can click view subscription. It's taking me to a landing page, so I've just got some key details about the site here. So client name, project location, the registered address, the longitude and latitude of where the Starlink is based. We've got their service line number, the terminal ID, but then also quite importantly their public IP address within here as well. I can then look at the usage stats within here. So what I can see in this particular site is they've got a 1 terabyte allowance from us currently. This month so far, they've used 554 gig of data, and their forecasted data usage for this month is 614 gig, based on the average daily consumption over the past 29 days. And again, we just present this back in a graph format. So we can see in the blue here, that represents their daily data usage. The red line is their 1 terabyte allowance. And then the green line going through this is their projected data usage for the month. What we can also do here is we can opt in to data alerts, so that when you get to a certain percentage of your data usage, we send you an email letting you know. Now, it's not so important today because you get that unlimited standard data with the service, unless you're in an area that's suffering from capacity issues on standard data. But going forward, this is going to be key. Obviously, the way that you procure data from April is going to be in 50 or 500 gig increments. And once you've exhausted your priority data, the service is going to throttle right down. So we're losing that unlimited standard data. So having the ability to be able to manage and monitor your data usage is going to become more important than ever. What I can also do within here is I can look at the performance of the equipment. Now, this is not the speeds that are available locally on site. This is the throughput that's being used at this moment in time. So we can see live at this site, it's using 19 meg of download throughput. We can see that there's 1 meg of upload throughput going through it currently. We can see latencies sitting at 27 milliseconds, so right in between that 20 and 30 milliseconds that we'd expect. They've got 0% in the ping drop rate. Their signal quality is sitting at 100%. They do have a slight obstruction at 0.01%. It's not affecting service, as we can see, but it's great that we know about that. That could be a tree overhanging, or it could be anything really, but it's not affecting service. We then present this telemetry back in a graph format, and we can view the telemetry over various periods of time, up to 30 days if required, but we'll just look at the last 24 hours just now, and we can see that it's been consistently performing. We can also export all this data into a CSV if required. We store this telemetry data for up to 2 years, so we can export a CSV with 2 years worth of data in here. And then finally, we have the active alerts piece of this. So this is where all your active alerts would show. There's none showing just now, but if we look at it over the last 7 days, we can see that there has been a software update on the service. And it's let them know every hour before that software update would commence. And going forward, we'll also have the ability to control software updates so it doesn't impact service as much. We then have the performance part of the control center. So this is our live global performance. Some of these sites do have some relatively high latency, but that's because they could be in a vessel in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, kind of far away from that ground network. But if we look at it on the other end, we can see latency's pretty good. But here we're just, you can filter things by all the various metrics that we're measuring. We can filter things by critical alerts, and that's what we know is our priority for the day to sort. And we can also filter things by warnings on here as well. Now, I'm going to show you the subscriptions tab. Again, the subscriptions tab is going to become key going forward with the changes that have been made to the data plans, because it will give you a singular view of all your sites and their data usage, as well as their forecasted data usage. So if we look at the top one, this is actually a great example of why unlimited standard data is no longer going to be available. So we've got a customer here that's on a 1 terabyte package. Their allowance is, their allowance is 1 terabyte. This month they've used almost 20 terabytes, and they've got a forecasted data usage of 21 terabytes. You'll also be able to see whether or not you've opted in to additional priority data. And what you'll be able to do through our portal is you'll be able to either automatically update or add data, either a 50 gig or a 500 gig bundle once you've exhausted your priority data, or you'll have the ability to go in and manually do that yourselves. Now, we do have some reporting functionality in here, so we can go in and look at all of our usage data across various sectors or on a customer by customer basis. We'll just give it a minute to load because it's quite a lot of data that it's pulling here. So here we've just got an overview of the data that's been used across the various industries that we service. And again, you can measure things across a kind of whole bunch of different filters that we have here. What I'm going to do is just go into the settings tab here. So with data pooling, obviously you need the ability to manage those pools of data. So I'm not going to dive too deep into it today, but there's functionality within here to get a kind of global view of your pool. You'll have the ability to assign data plans to particular sites. If you don't want them all pulling from the same pot and you want to allocate a specific allowance to that site. But also within here, we've got all your logs, so you can go in and look at all your telemetry alerts within here. If you want that single view. We also have notifications within here, so if you want to opt in to telemetry alerts, it's just a toggle button. So when you switch this on, when you have an active alert showing on the equipment, it will send you an email to let you know, so you can deal with it. We also have a daily digest function within here, which is really quite handy actually if you don't want to spend too much time in the portal. And this will basically send you an email once every 24 hours. It will list all your sites, how much data they've used. It will highlight sites that are close to going over their priority data usage. It will also show you all the sites in the last 24 hours that have been showing an active alert on the equipment. And yeah, I think that's pretty much me from a portal point of view. We're also, this is in beta testing phase at the moment, but we're also creating access controls so we can allow specific users to do specific things within the portal. Obviously things like updating additional priority data. You don't want to give every user access to that, so that's just something that we're working on at the moment, and we're constantly developing this portal, and it's very much driven by customer requirements. So if customers have ideas for us, we kind of do what we can to integrate these services into the portal. I think that's just about me from the portal side of things. What we'll do now is we'll go into a Q&A session. We've got about 15 minutes left, so hopefully that gives us enough time to get through all the questions.
There's a question around the maximum vehicle speed rating with the suction cup vehicle kit. Please, again, we'd have to probably discuss the use case with you for that, James. It may be more suited, the suction cup kit may be more suited to, or the unit may be more suited to a permanent installation or to using the mag mounts. This is something that's still under testing at the moment with the suction cups, and the road tests we were doing recently are with the mag mounts. But again, it just probably depends on the use case and the type of vehicle, but something that we would probably like to explore a bit further with you. There's a question regarding but is it a Starlink SLA, and what are the parts of the SLA? Bandwidth, uplink, downlink, megabit commitment, etc. The SLA has an availability SLA today, 99.9% availability on the network, and there's a bunch of measurement controls around that Starlink will put in place. The great thing with the availability SLA is that Starlink will be they will be offering automatic crediting as well if they don't meet that SLA. That's how confident they are with this as well. And there'll be automatic service credits applied back, which is a bit different from the norm. Usually when a company or a SATCOM company offers an SLA, you have a bit of a struggle in your hands to try and justify getting your service credits back, etc. as well. we have been, there are discussions in the future about there being, uplink, downlink, committed information rate options as well. There are some services today that exist with CIRs around their community gateway and some other new products that they're bringing for enterprise applications and for maybe cruises and ferries and shipping, etc., for oil rigs and platforms. There are other services around that. What we are talking about today, that service will have a 99.9% availability SLA today. But like anything with Starlink and with everything that SpaceX do, this will develop as time goes on. Next question is, can the Starlink Mini be used globally, such as in South Africa, etc.? And I think Andy touched on it earlier. Ultimately, the service can be used where the service is licensed. Starlink have 100+ countries. It's every day there's a new market opening up, and that makes it then available there. So South Africa isn't licensed at the moment, maybe at some point in the future, but anywhere the service is licensed, it can be used at sea or on land, and obviously rail, and they do aviation and things as well. But yes, it can be used worldwide where it is approved for use. Peter has asked a question regarding if we support installations, and if so, what's the onboarding process for existing equipment / Starlink accounts? So yes, we do, and it's quite simple. If you have, we get a lot of business, not just from bringing new customers onto the network, but we bring existing Starlink customers who have maybe procured their service either via the Starlink website or via another Starlink reseller, but often the ones, for all the reasons that we've gone through on this call around the support, the portal, the service wrap, things like billing. If you buy the service on the Starlink website, you need to pay by credit card, and it doesn't work for a lot of customers. So we do then transfer those customers over. So there's a process that you need to go through via the website to unlock the terminal. Really, really easy. Our team can talk you through that. Give us a terminal ID, and we can transfer any existing terminals that you have into our service management, and then you can be looked after by our support team, our NOC, our account managers, etc. And you can get all the full service wrap that Andy's kindly covered off in this call. Next question is regarding border areas between northern and southern or south of Ireland for emergency services. This particular type of use case is probably more suited to being used on one of our global mobility plans. Our global mobility plans can be used anywhere with the service is licensed, so you can travel cross-border using those plans. It comes with a slightly higher per gig rate, but the service can then be used anywhere. So it will just work seamlessly across borders, across countries, as long as the country that you're traveling to, which in the case of Northern and Southern Ireland, it is licensed both sides, so will work for you in these areas, and is being used by emergency services in a similar scenario to that as well. Got a nice technical one here regarding the MTU of the Starlink transmission. Is there any limitation regarding filtering in case of VPN protocols, NAT, and so on? Is remote station working on public IP address? So yeah, another good question. Starlink's network operates with a standard, MTU rate of 1500 bytes, which is typical for most internet services. For residential services and mobile plans, they employ carrier-grade NAT, CG-NAT, assigning private IP addresses to users and translating those into public IPs for internet access. And that can cause some complications for inbound connections and certain VPN configurations. But with our business services, they offer public IP addressing, which facilitates easier implementation of those inbound connections. Regarding VPN usage, many of our customers use VPN protocols. They function effectively over Starlink. Some users have reported some performance issues with IPsec VPNs that is well documented and well noted, and often those issues can stem from overhead and potential packet fragmentation associated with the encryption that VPNs use. So adjusting the MTU settings on VPN devices can sometimes mitigate those issues. But again, something that we'd be keen to probably discuss a bit further with you as well to understand your unique issues there as well. So I'm just having a quick look here. There's a MTU. Stephen, Kevin, what is the external battery type, uptime for the Mini, and how long do they take to charge? The external battery type is an anchor battery that we use. We've tested various different types in the field. We were getting about kind of 6 hours worth of uptime without the batteries depleting. To be honest with you, it just depends again on the applications and what you're doing with it and how heavily you're using it as well. The battery types take different times to charge. You know, they can take an hour or a couple of hours to charge in some cases, if not less, just depending. But there's a few different variations of those as well. But really easy to use. It's the type of battery that you'd maybe use if you're out camping or something like that. That's what we're using for this. That's how simple and straightforward it is to use. There's a question regarding the portal sending email alerts when a site is approaching its data limit. Yes, we set those at your kind of 50, 75, 90% of usage, and then if it's a full block, then there may be a bar applied to that. But we can send automated email alerts and notifications out to you so that you know, we can address that so that site's not being cut off and we can deal with it ahead of time. Let me have a look here. So I've got one here. So hi, Derek, could you please dive in a bit into your experiences of driving with the V4 Mini and the availability rates, influence of mountains, trees, etc. So, and its redialing performance. We've carried out a lot of testing around this. And again, it kind of outperforms people's expectations due to the sheer density of satellites in the network. You know, if you're driving under a bridge, yes, it's going to disconnect. It's going to cut off. But the dish and the equipment, the different iterations of the dish, it handles obstructions exceptionally well. So even if there is dish obstructions, because of the sheer density of satellites, it tends to then reconnect to a different satellite within its site. When we're running some tests on our V4 terminals, we can see 15 or more satellites within that field of view, that 110-degree field of view, and the same with the Mini. So there's always one within line of sight. You know, I mentioned earlier things like rail, where we're running tests for the rail tile, but ultimately the technology under the hood of that dish is the same as an HP, a high performance unit, and it's been exceptional so far. We've been running reconnection times where we had the dish connected to the top of the roof and coming out of tunnels, and we were getting reconnected back onto the networks, and in some cases 10, 11 seconds we were reconnected back onto the network again. So it does, reconnection times are great, and the handling of obstructions is really quite kind of mind-blowing, to be honest with you as well. Quick question around the presentation being sent over, which yes, we will share that after. We'll share that after the call. Ben Casey has dropped a question in regarding the performance of private 5G with Starlink as a backhaul. Again, if you've maybe followed some of our work and some of the case studies that we have on the website, we've carried out some work with Strathclyde University as well, where we have a Solona private 5G network for an agricultural test site, which has Starlink running as the backhaul for that service, and it performs exceptionally well. It just sees it as an additional external WAN source. You know, we get a couple of hundred meg throughput today on Starlink, and as Andy mentioned, we're going to soon be able to provide gigabit capable services as well, which we would integrate with our private 5G network services. So for us, for the type of customers and the use cases we work with, Starlink makes it's the perfect solution as a backhaul service for either a private 5G network or a kinetic mesh wireless network that we deliver. So it's something that we actively do today. That hopefully has given everyone a little bit more of an insight. Thank you to everyone again for attending today. We hope, if anything, you've learned a little bit more about Clarus Networks, but especially about Starlink and their new mini terminal, which again, mind-blowing for such a simple looking piece of technology. We'll be sending a recording of today's webinar for you to share with anyone who maybe couldn't attend today. Also, our contact details should you need to know anything at all about Starlink or anything else that we've covered in today's webinar. Anyone on the call, reach out to us. So thanks to SpaceX, the future satellite communications is here, and it's getting better and more exciting daily, and we are really, really lucky and proud to be a part of it. So thank you again to everyone for attending. Thanks.
Thank you.